Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for July 29th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and today I'm here on my own to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 21 live feeds. And I gotta say, it was a good day. It's a good day on the feeds. I feel like things are looking up. Things are looking exciting. I am enjoying it. There's a lot to talk about. A lot of cracks, a lot of movement, a lot of drama happening. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it all because it's good. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Things are looking up. So just wait until the twist comes to screw everything up. But for now, it's good. It's good. It was day 40 in the Big Brother 21 house. Day 40. And as I said, things are amiss. Also, if you want to join me in the chat, yes, the chat is my co-host today, and we'll have some fun there. But there's a lot to talk about, so probably not a lengthy Q&A section. Mostly just some recapping, some updating going on. All right. So, as we know, leading into this day here, we have Nick with the veto. He's going to take himself down today in the veto ceremony. And so the talk has been who goes up as the replacement. Now, Kat volunteered to go up as the replacement. We know that. And she didn't have to, but she did. She volunteered. And so Kat is looking like the option here. Kristi was really pushing for that because she wants Sam to go home. Now, Holly, on the other hand, was kind of thinking of potentially putting Nicole on the block, because if Nicole goes on the block, then she would want to backdoor Nicole. She would use Sam to potentially make some kind of move against the rest of the six, particularly Kristi, Tommy, Jack, because that they're on the bottom of the six and they need some kind of move to be made. And Kat in particular has really been pushing that Nicole should go because Nicole is not trustworthy. And so Holly is really considering this idea that maybe Nicole should go home. So we started the day with Holly and Jackson talking with Jack. And Holly and Jackson are going to be making a few mistakes throughout the day. One of the major ones here, obviously, that they, and by they, I mean mostly Jackson, trusts Jack way too much with a lot of this stuff. And so they are talking about the idea of potentially taking a shot at Nicole this week. They are talking about like, well, you know, I could put up Kat, but the other option is Nicole. So what are the pros? What are the cons to keeping Sam in the game? And Jackson starts pitching that, hey, if we keep Sam in the game, then, you know, myself, Holly, Jack, you, and Sis, we could kind of start another six with Nick and Sam to cover our bases. And then we have two different sixes. And I'm just throwing things out here. I'm just throwing things out. They, just ideas. Not conspiring. Not plotting against anyone. Just throwing some ideas out there. Jack is just like, but do we need to do that? And Jackson's like, maybe not, you know, but just thinking about it, you know, the six is not necessarily going to last all the way through. So, you know, maybe it's worth thinking about some other options. Let's think about it. Jack says, I hear you, but are we just making chicken salad out of chicken shit? Are we just doing that? I was very confused that Jack said this and not Jackson. But that's how Jack is trying to shut this down. And Jackson says he does it. Look. I don't want you to think that I don't want this to get back to Kristi, because I don't want it to look like I'm conspiring against her, that I'm plotting behind her back, because I'm not. But we're gonna have to take shots at each other at some point. And to be clear, I'm not plotting against the six. Not plotting against the six. Just that if Sam was here and took shots at other people in our six, is that a bad thing? Not plotting against anyone, just to be clear, but if they were to go home, like Jackson, I think, I mean, we've seen him operate before, right? Where he is a total jerk to people, and Jack does the same thing. Total jerk to people, but I love you. Just to be clear, I love you, but now let me be really condescending and mean to you. Like, Jackson feels like all he needs to do is make the disclaimer of, look, to be clear, not plotting against anyone. Now let's plot against Kristi. And so he goes ahead and he does that. Holly does try to pull it back a little bit. She says, well, you know, let's remember, maybe it's a little early to be talking about this because there are still 6 other people not in our alliance right now. And obviously she in this moment is thinking about Cliff's Angels because Kat has told Holly about Cliff's Angels and how that is an alliance of Cliff, Kat, Nicole, and Jess. And she knows that if they start taking shots at each other too early, then that group could actually get together and make something happen. And so she's trying to, I think, very subtly warn them, like, hey, this is still too early. Let's not take shots this early. This is more later in the game. We need to worry about the other people as well. But Jack says, Nah, we don't need to worry about Cliff or Kat. They won't take a shot. They're bought and paid for. We're in a good spot though, and we shouldn't agitate it. So, right from the beginning of this day, we're gonna see Holly and Jackson really start to float some ideas out there, some very anti-Kristi ideas, and that's going to be the theme of the day. We move on to Kristi, Tommy, Holly, and Jackson. Kristi and Tommy are going to come up and be talking to them. This was just a funny conversation because if you are a loyal listener to Rob Has a Podcast and you have listened to me on previous seasons, I have gone off about this before, where almost every season there's at least one person who says, I've got a photographic memory. Yeah, I'm going to win all the question comps because I've got a photographic memory. And it's never true. Never true. The one person who was unbeatable in question competitions throughout the history of Big Brother was Kevin Martin in Big Brother Canada. You know what Kevin Martin doesn't claim to have? A photographic memory. Because he doesn't, and none of these people do. None of them. Kristi's like, yeah. I've got a photographic memory. And Jackson is just like, oh yeah. And Tommy's like, what is that? Like, what does that mean? And Jackson's like, oh, go, let's do something right now. Target room, go. And so Kristi's like, okay, yeah, target room. And so she starts listing off a bunch of memorized facts about the target room. How many arrows there are, how many lines there are, all of this stuff. Which is not what a photographic memory means. It's not memorized facts that you memorized. It's that you can recall images without memorizing them. That's the point of a photographic memory. So she's listing off memorized facts and numbers about this room really quickly, like she's super smart. And then Tommy's like, oh, no, that's 13, remember? She's like, oh, yeah, right. I got that one wrong. I had to recount. She got one wrong! She's not thinking about the image and like, oh, looking at things. No, she memorized numbers because it's not what photographic memory is. She goes on to explain how she's like, oh yeah. What I do is I think about things like, Tyler came in and Tyler reminds me of this thing. And so this thing makes me think of a photograph in my head. And Jackson's like, ha, photographic memory. That's exactly what it is. And it's like, no, that is exactly not what it is. The photographic memory means that you do not use mnemonic devices to remember things. That's the opposite of what it is. It's exactly not what it is. Stop it. And so, of course, Jackson, not to be left out, is going to chime in as well. Oh, you know, before I got my concussions, man, my memory, sharp as floss. Sharp as floss. I could remember whole pages of text. Okay, that's genuine photographic memory, if it's true, and I don't think it's true. So, that happened. Sorry about that. Anyway, Sam and Sis, send it. They're going to talk. Sam and Sis, they've been talking for a while, of course, and Sis has been kind of campaigning for Sam to stay because she has a good relationship with him, and she really feels like he can be a benefit to her game. And so they're going to be talking a lot throughout the day, continuing to talk a lot throughout the day, and talking about like how he could possibly stay. They talk about who Holly could put up on the block. Sam is hoping that it's not Kat, because if it's Kat, he feels like he's dead. So they kind of get around to the fact that they kind of hint around the fact that, hey, Nicole is your best shot. If Nicole goes on the block, there's at least some hope. So Sam is going to be starting to kick off that campaign. He's going to be trying to make sure that Holly is thinking about putting Nicole on the block. Jack is going to be flirting a lot with Sis throughout the day. He's it's weird because they hooked up quite a bit, and then there's been this sort of like weird thing where he's like pining about his ex and she's pining about him, and they're not actually together very often, but they did actually flirt a bit yesterday in various points in the day. They were like picking up spoons with their feet and all this stuff. I mean, look, Jack, and they talk about this in the house. Similarly to Jackson, he can be charming when he wants to, which makes his devious side all the more devious, in my opinion. But they're going to be flirting a lot, and it's not something that is going to go unnoticed by Kristi. So we'll talk about that when it comes up. Tommy and Kristi, by the way, are going to, as we talked about last night in the recap, get their punishment upgraded. They come out. Hey everyone, we've got our new poison ivy treatment, because they've got calamine lotion all over them. They're all painted up like Oompa Loompas, they said in the house. Lots of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory talk. We got, Violet Beauregard and this Oompa Loompas, and they're completely painted in this sort of like pink stuff. They hate it. It's much worse than the just like blotches, because they're just full on painted and stuff, and it's much more uncomfortable. So they're not fond of it. Kristi does, though, say that it's actually green apple scented, in case you were wondering how they smelled. But that's a bad thing for Kristi, because her natural pheromones won't go through. She's like, Nick, you're not going to like it. It's very unnatural. It's very foreign. My pheromones aren't coming out. So that's going on there. They have a dance class. They do these occasionally. But particularly funny when Tommy's painted pink. So that happened. Nick is going to talk with Nicole, and in this conversation, this is a brief conversation, but he explains to Nicole that prior to the veto competition, he and Sam agreed not to campaign for the other person if one of them won the veto, meaning that if Nick won the veto or if Sam won the veto and they came down, they would not campaign to keep the other. And the purpose of this was that they would not drag, the person that's staying would not drag their games down in order to help save the other one, like what happened when they campaigned for Bella. But So like in practice, what it's amounting to is that Nick is not campaigning for Sam in any way. He is just kind of hanging out, trying to get back in with the big group. Now, I think that inadvertently they have stumbled upon a fantastic strategy, and Sam, I think, has caught on a little bit as well. He's also told Cliff, like, don't campaign for me. I need to do this all on my own. And this is really effective, and I think it's one of the reasons why Holly is so willing to potentially keep Sam in the game, because normally when you're on the block, you want other people to campaign for you, because if you're campaigning yourself, it's kind of tough, like you're already in a bad spot. But in this case, Sam has been dragged down by Nick's game, and one of the reasons why people want to send Sam home is because he's connected to Nick. And so if Nick is campaigning for Sam, not to mention the fact that Nick is a terrible campaigner in the first place, then it's much worse for Sam that Nick is campaigning for. They're advertising themselves as a duo, so they've stopped hanging out. Nick is not campaigning for Sam, and so Sam is able to act as a free agent, act as somebody that is like, hey, I can offer you what I can offer you, and it's a less united front. It's a less sort of threatening position to have only one person be campaigning. Nobody else is backing Sam up. It makes Sam look like somebody that can be picked up and worked with, like from Holly's perspective. So it's actually working really well, and I do think that that is commendable there. So that's happening there. Tommy and Kristi are going to have a long conversation in the boat room. Lots of interesting little things here. Kristi, the night before, had been freaking out, as she does, with Sis, and then Jack came in and she freaked out a little bit to Jack as well. She talked about how she, in her real life, has dealt with anxiety and like control issues and stuff like that. And so in her real life, she has worked really hard to put herself in a position where she is able to live calmly, and she doesn't put herself in situations where that side of her gets triggered, the anxiety, the control, freak side of her. And so she's finding herself in the house not able to control her surroundings as much, and she is devolving into the kind of controlling, paranoid, anxious person that she's able to kind of avoid in real life, which I thought was an interesting insight into sort of who she is in the game. This is Kristi talking to Tommy, and so she's telling Tommy about this, and part of what that freak out was about was that she's worried that Jackson is going. She's like, I'm worried that Jackson can read my mind. I'm worried that he can see how anxious and paranoid I am. It's very concerning, and she's worried that she's going to create the very situation that she's paranoid about in the first place, which is a legitimate concern because I think that she, in many ways, has. And so she's like, I think maybe I'm just being paranoid. Maybe I just need to calm down and like just chill and just be fine. And so. That being said, she says, if Jackson and Holly start pushing that they want to keep Sam again and take out Nicole, that tells me that maybe I'm not being paranoid. Maybe there is something to worry about. That tells me that they want Sam in the game to take shots at me, which is true. And so that's sort of the line. She's willing to maybe let this go, but if Holly starts pushing to keep Sam again, that's her cue, that's her signal that Holly and Jackson actually are plotting against her, and that's when she is going to be concerned. So they then go on to talk about how, yes, Sam should be leaving. Tommy said he wanted Sam to go in the first place. Sam is the more dangerous one. He really, really wants Sam to go home. Kristi says that they can vote Sam out regardless of who Holly puts up next to him. That if she does decide to pull a fast one and put Nicole on the block, they can still vote out Sam. They'll probably have the votes. And then afterward, they would go after Jackson and Holly. Because you want to keep big targets in the game? Well, guess what? You just created 2 new ones. Boom, you're on the block. That's Tommy's planned speech if they do it. Tommy's like, I plan speeches in my head all the time. That's just what you do in the house. They're such vindictive players, these two. So they're concerned about that. Tommy is worried about Jackson because he's like, I'm just worried because Jackson, he's going around, he's acting so happy. He's acting all happy. And, Jackson, he likes to be devious. He likes to play really hard. And so when he's not able to, he gets very frustrated and angry. But he's been walking around very happy. Very, very happy to be here, which concerns me. That tells me that he's able to have that outlet. And he is playing hard. And it's making him happy. which I thought that was actually a pretty good read. Because that's exactly what's happening. It's exactly what's happening. Tommy also says that he doesn't trust Kat, that he would not trust Kat to be a number for them this week to vote, and he does not trust that Kat is with them. He thinks that Kat might be with Holly, because he catches Kat talking with Holly a lot. There was one moment where himself, Kat, Sam, and Holly were up in the HOH room, and it felt like Sam wanted to talk to Holly, so Tommy was kind of just like, all right, Kat, let's go downstairs, give them a chance to talk. But Kat was like, no, I want to stay. And so he ended up leaving by himself, and then they stayed up there and talked. And that was like, why is Kat up there? Why does she want to be a part of that conversation? Why is Holly allowing her to be part of that conversation? He's really just starting to be a little bit concerned that Kat is not actually with them, and she's actually with the other side, which again, definitely a good read there. And I will say that that Kristi is, I think, starting to go along with that as well. We know that Kristi has had a bit of a soft spot for Kat, but that relationship has been deteriorating as things have been progressing with Kat and Holly and what's been happening this week. So that's something to watch out for as well. They did talk about Tommy advises Kristi not to talk about her power anymore. It's just don't mention it, because if you don't mention it, people will just forget about it. Like, do you remember that Sam won a trip to Fiji? She's like, oh my God, I totally forgot about that. He's like, exactly, because he never talks about it. And then they talk about how the power sucked this season. No, oh my God, Jack's power was worthless. The power sucked. Why didn't we get last season's powers? I thought that was funny. Kristi also talks about how she doesn't fully trust Jack still. And she hates it because she loves Jack, but she just doesn't feel like she can fully trust him. He's such a schmoozer. Such a schmoozer. She caught him talking to Nicole the other day because Nicole was freaking out a little bit. And she was like, he told Nicole that all of her quirks, that, all of the quirks and imperfections and stuff, that's what he loves about her. He wouldn't change anything about it. She's like, he makes me want to vomit saying stuff like that. He's like that with everyone. He's so schmoozy. And so she's very concerned about that. And she says he's also very jealous because last night Sis and I were cuddling and she was all over me and he was totally ignoring her. And now today he's all over her. I was like, yeah, I did notice that. He was flirting with her a lot today. And he's being kind of a dick to me. And he does the same thing to you and Nick, Tommy, when he sees that you and Nick are hanging out. He just gets jealous, and he likes to try to make us jealous. So there's a little bit of that too. That as tight as Jack, Kristi, and Tommy are, never underestimate Kristi's paranoia. She is definitely still having trouble trusting Jack. There's still a little part of her that's just like, this guy, he might just be playing me. And just another thing to pay attention to. Kristi also talks about, of course, wanting to take Jackson out of the house. She really wishes that somebody else would do it for her, but she doesn't think anybody would. She's talking about, like, who would put Jackson up? Nobody. It has to be us. Tommy says, it's too soon, though. It's too soon. But Kristi's like, is it too soon? I mean, I'm done. I'm done taking out the floaters, the Jesses, the Cats, all these people. They're not a threat to me. And Tommy's like, yeah, you make a good point. I think it is time for a big move soon. And Tommy says he wants to start winning competitions soon. Like maybe the week after this next week, he might start wanting to win some competitions. He was very happy to throw this veto to Nick. Not that he threw it per se, but he didn't really care about winning, and he kind of allowed himself to lose, especially knowing that he was going to lose to Nick. He was kind of pleased about that because he didn't really want Nick to go home. He wanted Sam to go home. He feels like he has a great relationship with Nick. He thinks Nick is trustworthy, and he just messed up. He just messed up, but we can bring him back in. So that's how Tommy feels about Nick. They do have a good relationship. That is also going to be one of the storylines here, because people are seeing that Tommy is close to Nick and that he might be trying to bring him back in. Tommy also voices something that I've been thinking about in regards to Tommy and Kristi's game, which is that Tommy came in here a big fan of the game, you know, ready to play hard, right? Ready to play the game. And he got into the house, he saw Kristi. Whoa. And everything changed for him. And now Kristi is the one that's really out in front, really pushing hard. And it behooves Tommy to just kind of sit back and let her do everything while he maintains his relationships. That's kind of the optimal strategy for him. But I always wondered, like, does he wish that Kristi wasn't there and that this wasn't the best strategy for him, that he could be playing a little harder? Because he's kind of just hanging out. And that's what's best for him, and he knows it. But I would, if I were in his position, I'd be like, this is my Big Brother experience, and I'm kind of being boring. And I know it's best for me, and it's like Kristi's doing all this work for me, but it's boring. And he kind of voices this. He's like, you know, I do wonder what it would be like if I played this game, you know, in a different house, with a different cast. You know, if I'd be playing more aggressive, we'd be, you know, more balls to the wall, that kind of thing. I think that Tommy is really starting to get bored, and I think he's starting to like want to take some action. He's like, so you know what? Soon, maybe we'll get there. Maybe we'll get there. Maybe we'll be more aggressive. We'll have more fun with it. So he's definitely again talking about very soon, within the next couple of weeks, winning some competitions, making some moves, really starting to branch out from the situation that they are in right now. Kristi's also going to talk about Jess and how she feels like Jess is, of course, somebody that is worth taking to the end game. That Jess is a great person to take because she's not going to win any competitions. She's useless in the game, and she's also not somebody you want to take to the final two because she's so lovable. So she's a great person to bring around to the final 5, 4, 3, that kind of situation. So Jess, in her GOAT status, moving up on the GOAT leaderboard, getting up there with Sis. Who knows? Maybe she'll move up from her 2 on the round table tonight, get up to a 3. She's getting there. Jess equals Victoria, says Kelly. Yeah, it's pretty. Honestly, though, let me tell you, Victoria was a fantastic GOAT. She was loyal. She was obedient. She followed direction very well, and she was completely comforted in like her own head about the fact that she was like playing a great game being a GOAT. And Jess, on the other hand, Victoria, the best GOAT of all time. Truly. All right. Holly is going to talk with Kristi, Sis, and Tommy. Now, they're going to be up in the HOH room. Jack leaves the room, and Holly is like, okay, now that Jack's gone, I wanted to talk to you guys, just you 3, about this whole situation, because I feel guilty sending Sam home for Nick's actions. Tommy makes sure to say it's not just guilty by association here. Sam was up in Cliff's HOH room when Cliff was making the Jack and Jackson nominations, and he was very excited about that. He definitely had a hand in that. So let's not only say that this is guilty by association. Holly says, okay, but just thinking about, like, the only other possibility I can think of is putting Nicole up and sending her home. And of course, Sis is like, that can happen. Sis is still kind of on board with this plan, of course, because she wants Sam to target Holly and Jackson. Sis pitches that if they get to the 6 with Jack and Jack, she's like, look, the way I see it, because I'm a strategic mastermind myself, Sis. The way I see it, the 6 aren't going to last. Shots are going to be taken. And who do we want those shots to be taken by? Maybe Sam. You know, if we do get all the way down to the 6, Jack and Jackson, those two guys, they're gonna steamroll us. They're gonna dominate. They're gonna take us all out. So Sam could be the person that takes a shot at them. That's all I'm saying. And so they talk about it some more. Again, Tommy tries to continue and push in the direction of Sam, though not only guilty by association, guilty in a lot of other ways. We can't keep him in with Nick. Too early to make some kind of move like this. Sam should be the one to go. He mentions that, again, like Sam was up in Cliff's HOH, and so they talk about, well, do you think Cliff would tell us if Sam was really pushing for Jack and Jackson to go on the block? And they're like, oh, well, maybe he's working with Sam. But Kristi vouches for Cliff. She says, nah, he's not working with Sam. He's with us. Cliff is team us. Team us. And then they end up getting interrupted because Jack comes back into the room. And this is a funny moment, too, because their cover story for what they were talking about is that they go straight to the trip that they're planning, because this is always something that house guests do. Like, oh, they're planning a big group trip afterward, and they're all going to travel together. And Sis just immediately pipes in with, yeah, but Kat can't come with us. We're just not going to tell Kat that we're going. I just hate her. She's so annoying. I would kill myself if Kat came with us. These people. So mean. Cliff is going to talk with Jack. Cliff is explaining the clown shoe moment with Jeff. And how Jeff went home with because of some clown shoes, and finally giving a little bit of hints about, like, yeah, double evictions, they are sometimes like a little bit luck based, like clown shoes or question comps. You know, I don't know if Jack really picked up on it, but also they keep calling them double eliminations, double elims. Stop it! It's not what they're called. Cliff talks about the deal for safety. He says, I know we have 2 weeks of safety, and Jack interjects, like, you know what? For me, you're beyond that safety deal for me now. I would love to work together moving forward. And Cliff says, I would love that as well. If there's anything that we can work out, you know, if there's any moves that need to be made, just come to me, and I'm completely open for it. Jack says, perfect. I love it. Cliff mentions that he has proved himself to be a man of his word. He does not do shady things. You know, man, I just can't. I wouldn't be good at shady stuff in this game. You know me. You know me. People really just buying this person that Cliff is selling after that big move there. Sis, Tommy, and Kristi are going to talk. Sis still pitching that Nicole should go. She's saying that she's super sketched out by Nicole. She likes Holly's idea of them four working together outside of Jackson and Jack. Sis really feels like Holly is not to blame for all of the Jackson and Holly stuff, that it's Jackson putting poison into Holly's ear, and the only reason Holly might be going along with it is because of Jackson. So if the four of them worked together, then that would be great. That would be great for them, and they can take out Nicole this week. They can take Sam in. Sam can take shots at Jack and Jackson, and everything will work out fine. Nicole just really sketches her out. And so Tommy and Kristi, once again, trying to push back this notion that they can keep Sam in the game. That we don't want to keep Sam in the game, that we can't keep Nick and Sam together. So they're like, oh, well, maybe we'll take out Nicole next week instead of Nick. But Sis is like, but Nick sketches me out too, and I can't trust him. And so, Tommy and Kristi are like, maybe we can bring him back in, all of this stuff. So Sis goes to talk to Nick. Says, Nick, I can't trust you. And Nick is like, oh, look. What can I do? I need to prove it to you. How can I make you trust me? I just need to win, and I'll prove it to you guys. She's like, not us guys, me. Me. How do you prove to me? Because I can't trust you, Nick. And she brings up the whole thing where he was trying to get her and Holly on the block. And Nick says, I wasn't trying to get you and Holly on the block. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember saying that, which is the worst thing to do. When Sis is like, oh, you tried to get me and Holly on the block all that time ago. You threw my name out there. And Nick is like, I'm sorry, but I don't remember doing that. He didn't. He only said Holly's name, but he's saying he doesn't remember saying Sis's name, which is all but an admission from most people's point of view. Most people would say, well, if he didn't do it, he would say he didn't do it. But I think he genuinely just feels like enough people have said that he did that he's like, oh, did I? I'm pretty sure I didn't. That's all I'm saying. So that's not going well, but he just continues to say, look, I'll win. I'll prove to you that you can trust me. Jack is going to join the conversation. He says the same thing to Jack, that he really wants to come back in with those guys. He's letting Sam go, and that he can work with them moving forward. And if he wins HOH, he'll prove to them that he can be trusted. Nick and Sis are going to talk even more later in the day, and about the same thing, about trusting each other, Nick earning the trust back, and all of that stuff. Rob in the chat says, too bad Nick doesn't have that photographic memory. Then he'd know for sure. All right, so Holly and Kat are going to have a long conversation, very long conversation. That is another big one here. This is an interesting thing that happens. Holly and Kat, they talk about the pros and cons of Kat going on the block. Now, in this conversation, Kat is basically trying to be like, I so regret volunteering to be nominated for the block. I really don't want to go up there. I'm terrified that everyone's going to flip on me and I'm going to go home. That's the inside of Kat. And how that projects itself is, you don't think that, I'm fine with going on the block, but you don't think that people will flip on me, right? And Holly's like, no, definitely not. It's like, okay, but what if they do? Holly's like, that would suck, but they're not. 100%, they're not. It's like, yeah, you're right. But what if going on the block means that people are more likely to put me up as a pawn later? Which is totally the case. She will absolutely become more of a pawn star. And Holly's like, I don't think that'll happen. She's like, yeah, you're right, that won't happen. Okay, so yeah, I'm totally fine with it. But what if Jackson wants me out? And Holly's like, no, Jackson 100% doesn't want you out. It's like, oh, are you sure? If he doesn't want me out, why does he keep picking fights with me in the kitchen? And she says it like that. Why does he keep picking fights with me in the kitchen? She's like, because he gets annoyed with you. But he doesn't want you out. It's like, okay. She's like, even if he did want you out, the votes aren't there. Nobody's going to flip. She's like, okay. They talk about the pros of Kat going on the block. Kat says it hides the fact that they've been working together and that they know each other. How about that? Holly says, oh yeah, I forgot we can talk about that now. Do you think they've aired it already? Sounds to me like they were told earlier in the season not to talk about this, or they said amongst themselves, we can't talk about this, and then eventually production caught on to the fact that they knew each other and were like, hey, you're not fooling anyone, just talk about it. But there was definitely some kind of rule against them, whether it was self-imposed or production imposed, that they were not supposed to talk about knowing each other until finally they were asked about it in the diary room, and now they feel like they can be more open about it on the feeds. So that was interesting. Holly does worry that if she puts Kat on the block, that Cliff's angels will come after her. It's kind of adorable that she thinks this is like a real thing. Cliff's angels will come for me. This united alliance, because I'm putting up one of their own. Kat says, I don't think so. And Holly's like, and by the way, I haven't told anyone about Cliff's angels. And Kat's like, oh yeah, good. I mean, Kristi knows. She's like, what? It's like, I'm pretty sure, yeah. Like, wasn't Kristi in that conversation? Holly's like, no. You didn't tell Kristi, did you? Kat's like, I thought hold on. Maybe I didn't. I'm not, did I tell Kristi? And Holly's like, don't tell Kristi. What are you doing? Kat's like, no, I don't think I told Kristi. She's like, well, if you told Kristi, the whole house knows. And Kat's like, no, I definitely didn't tell Kristi. I just got confused. I got confused. Holly's like, don't tell Kristi. She's like, I won't. I definitely won't tell Kristi. Holly says, Cliff is working with us. I don't want them to doubt Cliff. She's actively like trying to protect Cliff in this group, which I thought was interesting, because again, I think feels that she can use Cliff moving forward, and she is trying to. One of the reasons why she hasn't even told Jackson about Cliff's Angels is because she doesn't want Cliff to be targeted. She wants to potentially use Cliff's Angels, and she wants to talk to them separately to get them on board with her and whatever move that she makes this week. So that was very interesting. Kat says, so yeah, Cliff's Angels will come for you. But maybe they won't. I don't know. I mean, it's not like they're like I don't know. They're not like a super like united thing, you know? Like they're not super like I think Cliff has my back, but I mean, I don't trust Nicole at all. And Jess, Jess is Jess. Like her head's not really like she doesn't really care about anything. So I don't know. It's barely an alliance anyway. So they talk about so they finished that. They talk about how Sis is really pushing for Nicole to go, and Holly is worried that the only reason Sis is pushing for Nicole to go is because she wants Sam to stay, because Sis feels like Sam is a number for her. And if Sam is a number for Sis and not Holly, then that's not good for Holly. So she's concerned about that. And Kat, and so the Kat, they're worried about that. Kat wonders again, well, are we sure we have the votes if I go on the block then? Kat says that, it's weird. I really trust Jack. Jack is one of my favorite people in the house, Kat says. I feel like we can Jack is for sure a vote to keep me. I know I can trust Jack. He's great. I love him. But I am worried about other people. Like, what if they flip on me? I'm not trying to convince you. I'm totally willing to go on them. I'm just worried about some other people, and I'm worried about Nick. Nick and Tommy have been talking a lot. It seems like they're trying to pull Nick back into the group. I don't like that. Holly's like, I know. I tried to tell them that Nick is like an abusive relationship and that they shouldn't pull him back in, but they're doing it. They're doing it. Kat says that Kristi and Tommy have talked to her about working with Cliff and Jess and Nicole, essentially Cliff's Angels, but they don't know about Cliff's Angels. And Holly's like, oh, that Kristi. Everybody goes to Kristi for everything. Kat's like, yeah, she was the first HOH. She's like the leader of the house. And they start talking more about Kristi and how dangerous she is. Again, more of this sort of Kristi exposed stuff going on. Lots of people talking about Kristi. This is kind of what we have been expecting for a little while. This stuff is really starting to bubble to the surface a bit here. So talk about Kristi and how she's in charge of the house. Everybody goes to her for everything. She's very dangerous here, and they're concerned about taking out their own soldiers and leaving in soldiers for other people. All right, so that was the Holly and Kat talk. Jackson is going to talk to Sam briefly. He says that he would love for Sam to stay and for Nicole to be the one that goes. Sam wonders if he should pitch that to Holly. This is, again, another hint to Sam that Nicole is the right option to go next to him, that would be his best shot at staying. So Nicole is then going to break down a bit to Kristi and Tommy. She's been talking a lot about how it's not really fair in the house, because if she says something like, hey, I'm a free agent, or I want to work with some people, then she gets in big trouble for it. But if somebody like Kristi says that, then it's just Kristi. she can say whatever she wants. So she starts breaking down about stuff like that. Tommy advises her to be more vocal. Be more vocal about where you stand, because people are worried about you. They don't know where you stand, and that scares them. But Nicole says, but I'm afraid to say things like that because of what happened. Like, I'm really like burnt by that, and I feel like I'm not able to say things like that. So Tommy and Kristi continue to comfort her. They say, we're Team Nicole. We're on your side. Everything's fine. You just be more vocal. Pick a side. Pick a side. So she says straight up to Kristi that, like, I feel like you can say things and I can't. And Kristi's not going to love that. So once again, Nicole being a little too open with Kristi, but not to the point that things are going to get bad here. Holly is going to have a talk with Sam. Sam is going to have a lengthy campaign to Holly once again. And Holly does say, like, she would love to work something out and keep him. Nicole is an option here. After Sam asks, like, is anybody else causing drama? Like, can we make anything happen? But she says, look, the whole house wants you out. The whole house has been trying to hang Nick up and crucify this guy, and now all of a sudden they're trying to pull him back in, and they're all saying that they want you out. Jackson is the only person who is entertaining another idea, that we can maybe put somebody else on the block and keep you around. This has been their plan before, which is that they want to sort of prop Jackson up as the person who is willing to work with them in the case that they win a competition later. And again, Holly just continuing to entertain the idea of keeping Sam around and taking Nicole out instead. Jack and Jackson are going to talk out in the backyard, and Jackson is once again going to pitch to Jack, hey, man, who's willing to put up Kristi? Nobody's willing to put up Kristi. Think about it. Who's going to put Kristi up? Cliff isn't going to put Kristi up. Jack, we're not going to put Kristi up. Nick's not going to put Kristi up. Nicole's not going to put Kristi up. Kat, Jess, they're not going to put Kristi up. Who's going to put Kristi up? Maybe we should consider keeping Sam around as somebody that can put somebody like Kristi up. I don't know. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I don't know, and that is all he's saying. I'm not conspiring. I'm not plotting against the Six. I'm just saying it. And he is just saying it, but he shouldn't be saying it to Jack. Probably not the best idea. But Jack isn't going to rat him out immediately. Won't really much at all, yet, at least. Nicole does then check in with Holly. Nothing of much substance here. Holly is going to question Nicole about the Bella stuff a bit. Nicole is going to mention that she didn't have anything to do with it. She denies a lot of involvement. There's a lot of talk of just checking in, just talking about other things. The conversation doesn't go particularly well for Nicole, though, because after her conversation with Sam, Holly is really starting to feel like she does want Nicole to go. She just feels like Nicole is holding back and that she can't trust her. She doesn't know where she stands, and she's really starting to feel like she wants to put Nicole up. She goes to talk to Jackson afterward, and she says she did not like her conversation with Nicole. She wants to talk to Jess to try to confirm some of the things that Nicole said, and if she catches Nicole in a lie, then maybe that is the opportunity to put her on the block and send her home. So Cliff is going to have a brief conversation with Sam. Sam tells Cliff, he lets him know, hey, I'm trying to get Nicole on the block. That's my best chance of staying. Cliff says, all for it, man. Do you. I'm here for you. I'm here to back you up. And Sam says, I know. You're here for me. I'm here for you too, Cliff. We're in this together. And so they're buddies. They're buddies. Cliff playing both sides of this because he's later going to talk to Nicole and wish her well as well. Holly is going to then go to Kristi and Tommy. Holly is talking again about taking out Nicole. And this is a bit of a longer conversation this time. Holly really considering this, really talking about, like, what if we took out Nicole? Is that really such a bad thing? Kristi, though, pushes back. she says that I just feel like you can't leave Sam and Nick in the game together. And Tommy again brings up the whole Sam being involved in Cliff's nominations thing. Holly says, well, maybe we should talk to Cliff, see if he can confirm that. Maybe I need to talk to Jess to see if she can confirm some of the things that Nicole was saying, seeing if Nicole is lying here. Kristi and Tommy mentioned that they just talked with Nicole, and she says that she's worried about saying too many things, and that's why she probably seems reserved and sketchy, because she's after what happened with the whole Nick and Bella situation, she's kind of gun shy about everything, and that's probably why they're really trying to protect Nicole here. They again do not want Nicole to go home. They would really love to see Sam go home. They even mention, Holly's like, well, if I put Nicole up, do you think she would go home? And Kristi's like, no, definitely not. And Tommy's like, nope. And then you can see Tommy realize that by saying no, Nicole wouldn't go home. He's admitting that him and Kristi would vote against Holly's wishes because it wouldn't happen otherwise. And he's like, well, I mean, probably not. I mean, I don't know. Holly really should have seen in this moment that things were not looking great for her here. So Kristi, though, she does say, you know what? Ultimately, we will support you. If you choose to take your shot, we will support you. We know this is not the case, but she is telling Holly that it is, because, of course, she's not going to tell Holly to her face that she's going to go against her decision. Holly asks them about involvement with Nick, that, well, if I take Sam out, like, what's happening with Nick? Are you guys working on him? They're like, no, nothing with Nick. Nope. Nothing at all. We're definitely not working on trying to pull him in. What are you talking about? No. Look, we think he's a good guy, It's all. Nothing crazy. Kristi does point out that, hey, look, getting rid of Sam disarms both Nicole and Nick. Getting rid of Nicole disarms nobody. There's still Sam and Nick in the house together, and that's dangerous. They say that, look, maybe what we should do is get rid of Nicole next week. Nick being such a great guy, maybe we can take out Nicole next week, and that can satisfy you, essentially. We know that they don't really want this based on their conversation together. They're really, again, starting to look at potentially targeting Holly and Jackson, but of course they're not going to tell Holly that. So this conversation does not go well for Holly. After Holly leaves and Tommy leaves, Kristi is gathering some things and walking out the door. She looks up at the camera and she mouths, bullshit. She's very displeased that Holly is trying to pitch to keep Nicole. This is exactly what she was worried about earlier in the day when I queued that up. She's like, this is the sign to her that Holly is trying to make a move. So she's not into it. She's not into it. Sam and Sis are going to talk even more about getting Nicole on the block. Cliff and Nicole are going to check in. Cliff is going to talk about, what's going on. Nicole says Cliff says that he thinks Nicole is good. He does not let her know that Sam is trying to get her on the block. He is trying to, he's saying, like, I'm pretty sure you're good. Pretty sure you're good. I think Kat's going on. Nobody's told me. Kristi told him. Nobody's told me, but I think that Kat's going on the block and that you should be fine. And you know what? Even if you did go on the block, it would probably just be as a pawn. Sam would still probably go home, which is probably the case. Nicole says that she's considered going to Jackson and Holly and telling them, because Kristi has said to her so many times that she wants to take a shot at Jackson. So Nicole has considered going to Jackson and Holly and telling them, hey, Kristi wants to take a shot at you. But she knows, because of what happened last time, that she would somehow be the one that takes the blame for it. And so she doesn't want to do it. She doesn't want to say anything. And so she's kind of just sitting back. However, you do know that if Nicole did go on the block, I guarantee you she goes up to Holly and lets her know. Although she would be relying on Tommy and Kristi's vote at that point, so maybe she wouldn't. But she talked about that. They also talk about Kristi and how she is saying that she wants them on her dream team. Her dream team. Kat, Jess, Tommy, Nicole, Cliff. That's her dream team. It's her dream team. But she tells everybody that they're on her dream team. can't really trust Kristi. And she goes around, she tells everyone that she's on their side and that she wants other people out. And Nicole's like, again, Kristi's allowed to do all that. If I said anything like that, I would be in so much trouble. So they're definitely on to Kristi there. Cliff advises patience. He says, we just need to wait for this next split. It's coming quick. And once this next split happens, we need to take advantage of it, scoop up the couple that gets ejected from this group, and use them to take out the other 4. That's the plan. That's what we have to do. So that's Cliff and Nicole. They're talking. Cliff explaining, the game plan here, what they have to do here moving forward to continue to break up the 6 and break up the power structure. Obviously, what this is hinting toward is that Cliff is going to probably how this is going to play out once Kristi takes the shot at Jackson and Holly, or if Jackson and Holly decide that they want to take the shot first, or whatever it will come down to. Cliff thinks it might not happen next week, but he does hope that Nick would be a target over himself, Nicole, and the rest of them, which may or may not be the case, but certainly over him. Nicole might be the one in danger there. But once that happens, then he will be able to probably scoop up Jackson and Holly, jump on board with them. Kat would be there, Jess would be there, and that team can go after the other side where Jackson and Holly are taking the majority of that heat, and he will be able to push forward in the meantime. Especially if he then has Nicole on board as well. That would be Cliff's game plan. Tommy is going to talk with Sis. They're making banana bread, and took them a while, which, you know what? It does happen. Making banana bread, you cook it for the amount of time. You stick the knife in there, you're like, it's still wet. It's still wet in the middle. Gotta cook it way longer. That's what happened to them. So they're waiting for the banana bread to finish, and Tommy is talking with Sis more about just like worrying that he's out of the loop. That, he's like, hey, look, if Holly wants to do something, at least hopefully she tells us. But like, I feel like we're being left out of the loop here. It's no good. So like more tension building. Kat is going to talk to Kristi, and she mentions that, Kat mentions that she feels like she's going up because after her conversation with Holly, the plan was she goes on the block. She's not really aware of all of the other talks that Holly's been having after their conversation. Kristi says, well, Holly just came to us and was really saying that she doesn't really know what she's doing yet. She's not sure. And Kat's like, oh, I didn't realize that. And Kristi is going to open up quite a bit to Kat. She really shouldn't be. She tells Kat all about how sketchy it is that Holly is doing this, and that, it's really telling that Holly wants to put Nicole on the block and send Nicole home and keep Sam around. That tells Kristi that Holly is plotting against her. She's telling all of this to Kat. Kristi also says there's no way she's voting Nicole out of the game. No way. Sis is going to join them as well, and she is also going to talk about Holly and how sketchy things are looking here. So Kat, armed with all of this information, of course, is going to go straight to Holly. She doesn't have time to talk to her immediately, but she does give her a heads up that people are conspiring. The people are talking about her and saying that she's sketchy and that she's trying to keep Sam around as a weapon against other people in the Alliance. She can explain everything later. So that's going to freak Holly out, and Holly's going to start rushing around, being a little bit paranoid. In the meantime, Cliff is going to talk with Jackson. He checks in with Jackson, just making sure everything's all right. Plan is still set. Kat's going on the block. Jackson mentions, we're still considering things. Cliff, you're totally good. But there is one person that's really been pushing for one particular outcome to get Sam out of the game. And Cliff is like, I know what you're talking about. And Jackson says, yeah, and here's the thing, Cliff. I feel like Sam, he's willing to take some shots that can help us out. Maybe some shots at this person that is pushing so hard. This person being Kristi. That maybe he can take some shots at people like Kristi, and maybe that would work for us. Cliff. And Cliff says, I'm with you. And this is staying with me. I won't tell anyone about this. Because I'm totally with you. I want to take that shot too, but I can't do it by myself. And Jackson's like, exactly. That's why Sam would be useful to us. And so Jackson is like, Cliff, you and me, we gotta work together here. We gotta work together moving forward. Like this is the way to go. And Cliff says, should I go talk to Holly? He's like, yeah, we're gonna make this happen. This is a thing. So again, Cliff now working with Jackson as well to take this shot at Kristi eventually. Rob says, would be some sweet banana bread if Kristi could be undone by Kat and Holly's secret pregame relationship. We'll see how things go. All right. Jackson is definitely not BSing Cliff because he's been saying the same thing to Jack and he's been saying the same thing to Holly. He's been saying to Holly for a long time that he wants Cliff on board to take the shot at Kristi because they do feel like they're at the bottom of the alliance. So this is something that Jackson genuinely wants to build. So obviously the danger for Cliff is that he is playing all sides right now. He's playing all sides. He's playing the Jackson side. He's playing the Kristi side. He's playing the Outcast side. And even within the Outcast side, he's playing two sides. He's playing the Sam side and he's playing the Nicole side and he's playing the Kat side. And everyone thinks they have him. So that could be dangerous, but for right now, it's working well. And he has a lot of information. Everybody has told him everything. So we'll see how that goes for him from this point forward. Cliff is also going to talk with Kristi. Kristi tells Cliff all about this Sam thing and how she's worried about Holly and Jackson and how they seem to be wanting to keep Sam to go after her. Potentially. And Cliff is like, oh yeah, I did catch, and this was savvy of Cliff because he doesn't completely confirm anything that Kristi says, even though he knows the truth. He also doesn't rat Jackson out in the sense that it's Jackson and Holly. What he does is he throws somebody under the bus that he knows is not part of the plan. He says, yeah, I saw Jackson and Jack whispering in the backyard earlier. And that was the case, that Jackson was pitching to Jack about this plan to go against Kristi. And so, of course, that concerns Kristi, who has been doubting Jack a little bit during the day. And so she now feels a little bit skeptical of Jack, and she needs to go talk to Jack about this. And that sets her off about this whole Jack situation. So she goes and she talks to Jack and she wants to know what's been happening in the day. She fills him in on all the Holly stuff and how Holly's trying to keep Sam in the game. And she feels like Sam is going to take a shot at her and that there's no way they can let Sam stay. Jack agrees. Sam needs to go. Sam needs to go. He has to be the one that leaves this week. But he does not reveal just how anti-Kristi Jackson and Holly have been pitching him. He does not reveal any of that. And Kristi is later going to be like, I felt like Jack was holding back. I felt like he was not telling me some things. So a little bit happening there as well. A little bit of tension forming there. I do think that Jack will eventually rat Jackson and Holly out, but he didn't quite do it for now. But he is still definitely firmly on board with Kristi and Tommy and will be wanting Sam out this week. So Jack also kind of playing the middle there, but a little bit caught between both sides. As Kristi is explaining, this is a pretty funny moment. Kristi is flossing her teeth as she's explaining that Sam needs to go. She's talking about oh, he's the worst. The problem with Sam is that he promises everyone his life in the game, and he's so phony. And then Sam walks right in, and she's like, yeah. Sam's like, did I interrupt? She's like, no, you're good. And so that conversation ends. Tommy, Sam, Jess, Cliff, Kristi, and Jack are all in the target room, and things are going to blow up a little bit here because Sam is once again talking what did I do wrong? I did nothing wrong. Why me? And finally, things are going to get talked about a little more. Kristi's going to be like, well, what about this whole situation where you were campaigning for Bella to stay? And Sam is like, I don't think I was campaigning that hard. Jess, I mean, did I campaign very hard to you? Kristi's like, oh, I don't want to start anything. And Jess is like, what? How dare you bring me into this? Sam? You did talk to me about keeping Bella. And he's like, what are you? I don't remember campaigning that hard. I mean, come on, that was Nick and Bella were campaigning. Maida was chiming in. Maida was chiming in occasionally, but I wasn't like campaigning super hard. And Jess is like, no, don't you do that. Jess really bringing out the sis in her. Really just like, how dare you? And Sam is just like, I feel like you're talking down to me here, Jess. I don't like this. And Jess is like, oh no, I know you, Sam. I know you've been trying to target me. And this becomes a whole thing. Kristi's like, no, guys, I didn't want to be this. I didn't want this to be a thing. And so look, as with most things that involve Jess, it's mostly completely inconsequential to most things, but ultimately Sam says, you know what, I'm happy this happened. I'm happy this happened. We can clear the air because I was not campaigning that hard for Bella. Maybe some things, but not that hard. And Kristi also brings up the whole Cliff situation. Did you take part in Cliff's nominations? Cliff actually chimes in. He's those were mine. Those are my nominations. Sam didn't have anything to do with it. So Sam's like, see, I'm innocent. I'm so glad that we could clear this up. And Kristi's like, yeah, and of course I'm the one that's gonna have to bring this up to you. And he's like, I'm glad though. I'm glad. So that big thing happens, and Holly is able to overhear some of what's going on, and so she is like, oh great, like now with all this stuff blowing up, now they're gonna say for sure we can't keep Sam, and I'm getting in trouble. Like Kat already gave me the warning. I'm getting in trouble with trying to keep Sam, and they think I'm coming after them, and now this blow up is happening, and Sam is gonna be can't stay, and like all of this stuff is working against me. So she goes and she joins Sis and Jackson in the hammock, and she's like, I'm so annoyed right now. I'm so annoyed. And she explains to Sis that like people are talking. I'm hearing that people are suspicious that like, oh, because I'm considering keeping I'm considering an option. And so because I'm considering an option, now all of a sudden I'm the bad guy and I'm conspiring against people and I'm the one plotting and all of these things. And now this big blow up is happening and Sam is going to go home anyway. And I just, that this is not okay. This is not okay. And Jackson's like, yeah. And, all this Kristi stuff. And Sis is like, yeah, Kristi is doubting you a little bit. Yeah, that is happening. That is happening. And so this is Sis, Jackson, and Holly. Holly venting to Sis and Jackson about this whole situation because she was alerted by Kat. And so she is talking about this with Sis and Jackson. Sis, again, is very pro keeping Sam, so Holly feels comfortable venting to Sis. But of course, the result of this is that Sis is going to run straight back to Tommy and Kristi and let them know Holly's freaking out. She's saying that people are doubting her and all of this stuff, and she's talking about you, Kristi, and all of this stuff, and how you guys are, freaking out because she wants to keep Sam. And who else is in this conversation? Kat. Kat is right there when she tells them. And so then after Kat leaves to go explain this conversation back to Holly, Sis lets them know, yeah, I think it was Kat that told them about you guys doubting her. And they're like, oh boy. So why did you just explain that whole thing in front of Kat? Because now Kat runs right back to Holly and Jackson, and Kat tells them, yeah, Sis just ran over and ratted your entire conversation out. She said that you guys are worried that Tommy and Kristi are suspicious of you and, all of this stuff. And they're like, Sis, oh my God, it was Sis all along. It was Sis all along. They're pissed. They're pissed at Sis. And Kat has always hated Sis because she's very flirty with the guys and she doesn't like it. So they talk about, oh, Sis, she's the one running back and forth. She's trying to keep Sam to keep her numbers, and then going back to Kristi and Tommy and telling them that we're the ones that are, pushing this and that we shouldn't be trusted. And so everything is getting pinned on Sis at this point instead of Kristi. And so they're and she flirts with all the guys and she flirts with Jackson, and it's not okay. It's not okay. And so they're very, very angry with Sis. Jackson is going to run to Tommy and be like, Tommy, what's going on? Are you guys mad at us? Are you guys like thinking that we're turning? Like, what's happening? Tommy's like, what? No, I'm obsessed with you. I would never. That's not true at all. Totally not the case. And meanwhile, Holly is like, Jackson just ran off without me and he's talking to Tommy by himself and I don't like that. And so Holly goes to talk to Tommy and Kristi. They continue to deny feeling any kind of suspicions. They're completely denying everything, and they blame it all on Sis. Oh, Sis is the cause of all of this. Sis running back and forth. She shouldn't be doing that. That's no good. We shouldn't. Sis. She just wants to keep Sam. That's all. That's the only reason any of this is happening. Is just because of Sis. These people love their scapegoats. So that gets kind of, the lid gets put on that, and Holly and Jackson are going to talk a little bit again. They are mostly convinced at this point that it is all Sis, and that Sis is the problem here, and that she's the one they need to worry about, which is, this should be news. This should tell them that they should take a shot. They should be putting Kristi on the block. They should be putting Tommy on the block. They should be putting someone on the block that's not Nicole and not Kat. This is their Nick and Bella moment. But not happening. Instead, they're going to have relationship drama. Holly's mad at Jackson for going to Tommy by himself. Where do you go? You can't just go off and talk by yourself with Tommy. You need to wait for me. Jackson's like, hey, I'm not your dog. Don't bark at me. What is this? So lots of drama happening, lots of craziness. We're heading into the veto ceremony today, and things are definitely still enough in the air that things could change, things could shift here. The plan still currently is to put Kat on the block and send Sam home. But with everything that happened last night, they could easily wake up this morning and rethink the plan, which is what's happened before. There's still a lot of room to maneuver here, and they definitely need to be taking a shot. They definitely need to think about this, because if they put Kristi on the block next to Sam, they certainly feel that they have Cliff. Whether or not they actually had him, they probably would. I mean, we'll see. That would definitely behoove Cliff. So I could definitely see Cliff siding with them. Cliff would be a vote for them. They could easily, of course, pull Nick. Nick would come to their side because they're saving Sam. They have Kat, they have Jackson, and they have Jess. That's 5 votes. That's all they need. They can take out whoever they want. This is their opportunity. This is absolutely their opportunity, and they need to take the shot because these guys are coming for them real fast. And they have way enough information to know this by now. It's the exact same spot that Nick and Bella were in a couple of weeks ago, and they need to do it, but they haven't even considered that. The thing they're considering is, should we take out Nicole instead? Is Nicole the right option? So even if she does flip around to not putting Kat on the block, Nicole is the person she would put on the block, and Nicole would stay. If she put up Nicole, Kristi and Tommy would keep Nicole, Sam would go home, and it would literally be the exact same thing as the Nick and Bella week, where they put up Nicole as a backdoor, and then the rest of them keep Nicole. So dumb. I don't know why they think that would work. It's the same exact thing that you guys did to other people, and you think it's gonna work this time? Why? So dumb. But more than likely, it's going to be Cat. Everything's going to be smooth, and this tension is just going to continue to build as these two sides of the six continue to talk crap about each other and all of this stuff. I guarantee you, if Kat goes on the block, Kristi's narrative in her head is going to be, oh, thank God, they almost took the shot at us, but we convinced them. We convinced them not to, and now we need to take the shot because we're not going to get away with that again. It's going to be the same thing that happened with Nick and Bella. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here from this point forward, but lots of crazy stuff. Rob says, don't bark at us, Taran. And it's fine because I'm Sam in the diary room. That's how it works. That's how it works on these Big Brother streets. All right. As I said, lots of stuff going down. It was a good day. It's a good day. It's a good week. Things are looking up. Things are looking up for now. Lots of tension here. All right. So that's what we had for today. Long update. Probably a good thing that I was on my own today because there's a lot to get through and a lot of detail to get through. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Make sure you come and join me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. I'm sure there's going to be some interesting stuff on the feeds today. So I would look out for maybe myself going live on Twitch for maybe the veto ceremony or previous to the veto ceremony or after the veto ceremony. Who knows? But if you go to twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong, hit the follow button, then you'll be alerted if I go live. And that's when you know things are kicking off on the feeds. We got to watch. So make sure you do that. And then, of course, tonight there is going to be the roundtable at 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to rate all of these players. We'll talk about the week as a whole and all of that stuff. Should be a lot of fun. Make sure you check out the survey that will be released on my Twitter at ArmstrongTaran today. After this podcast ends, I will tweet it out and pin it to the top of my Twitter so you can take it there. You can rate the players yourselves. You can rate the season. You can rate the week. You can all do all kinds of great stuff. So check all of that out. Tune in tonight. And, of course, I'll be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 21 live feeds. Woo! It's a lot of talking. Sometimes you get out of breath. You talk this much, this fast. Lots of information. But I got through it. I did it. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. And I'll see you next time.